Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Titan Business Builders. And today we have a new Titan as a guest, and it's Leslie Burby from Modern Marketing Mama. How are you doing, Leslie?
I'm well. How are you, Stefan?
I'm good. Nice to see you again. We've already talked before a little bit, but off camera. So it's always nice to see the familiar faces again. And yeah, really want to talk about, like we do every week, about how you started your business, how it's going, how did you scale your business, what were the roadblocks, all of the good stuff, let's say, and to share it with our audience because your story is pretty unique, I would say. You started a couple of businesses, and you always say, like, I started businesses out of necessity. Could
Right.
you a little bit explain a little bit more, like what do you mean by that?
Well, as you know, I'm a mother, and when I initially started my first business, I was in college, and I had gotten sick and I had to return back home. And the problem was I was tutoring a lot of people at college, and we were all on scholarship, and a lot of them had to maintain a certain GPA in order to maintain their scholarship. They were promised tutors when they got there. When they got there were no tutors. So I started to tutor my friends, and then other people heard that I was tutoring. So then I started tutoring a whole bunch of people. And when I got sick, that was detrimental to them. So when I was sick, in order to keep my mind busy and help them, because it was necessary for me to help them, was what I did was I created an online platform where we could share their work, and I could basically write on a chalkboard, but it was the computer. So that way, it was the first way we could communicate through the computer. They could still get the help they needed, and it also helped me take my mind off of my medical issues. And that snowballed into helping. Once I did get better, it only took me a couple months. I started helping children locally, and one mom contacted me, and her son had traumatic brain injury, TBI, and she begged me to work with her son because I was an out-of-box thinker. And I had explained to her that I hadn't finished my degree yet. And she said she didn't care, that she had a whole team of people working with her son for the past 6 years, and he still couldn't even remember the alphabet. Every night he would go to sleep, and his mind would reset, and everything he had learned that day would be gone. So she said, really, I have nothing to lose. So I ended up helping him, and in a matter of 6 weeks, he was able to retain the alphabet sounds, and start reading. So then the school system hired me to come in and teach their traumatic brain injured students. And I created this whole program, and I just loved what I did. I loved tutoring. And so by the time I was 18, my tutoring company had become statewide. So that was one necessary
18.
thing that started. It just came out of necessity. And
You were
then,
18.
yeah, I was only 18.
Wow.
Yeah. You should have saw the look on people's faces when they called me in for an interview. Um, like the towns would call me to come in to have a discussion with them, to run an
Yeah.
after-school program and things like that. And and I would hire teachers and other people, and we would run the program together. So there were certified teachers there, but it was just funny because I wasn't even certified as a teacher yet. So, but it was just that, I guess, the passion and the eagerness. I wanted to help people. In everything I do, every business I own, what drives me is wanting to help other people. So, but yeah, then I got married and I had a few children. I was a stay-at-home mom and I loved staying home with my children. And I thought I was done having children, and then whoops, I got pregnant with my third. And I was excited, but I was also terrified because at this point I hadn't worked in a long time. I had given up my tutoring company and I didn't know exactly where I was going to work or how I was going to work around my children, around caring for my children, because the cost of childcare is just ridiculous. So if I went back to work, would I even make enough to pay for childcare and have any income left after that? So I started working from home. I started writing blogs, and those blogs were so well received that one of the gentlemen asked me to write a book with him as initially as a ghostwriter. He wanted me to write it for him, and just his name would be on it. But then we became really good partners, and we ended up writing it as we both wrote it. So I wrote Emotional Mastery for Adults with Asperger's, and it was a worldwide success. It was fantastic, and it was so well received, and people were reaching out to us that we decided to start a magazine. So we started Autism Parenting Magazine, and it was really important to me because my daughter was diagnosed with Asperger's, and later my son was diagnosed with severe nonverbal autism. And might I add that he is verbal now. But what I wanted to do was just share all the resources that I found to help my children, or what worked for my children, and wanted to share those and help other parents. Because what I didn't realize, and what many people I think in the US don't realize, is the services that are here in the United States are not worldwide. In some countries, they don't want children with special needs. And it falls completely on the parents to help find a way to help their child, So the first couple issues, I wrote the entire magazine, every article, interview, product review, everything was written by me. And by the third issue, I had a few writers, and a year and a half later, when I left the magazine, I had 20 writers. So I had a team of 20 writers writing, and it was fantastic. I loved what I did, and I engaged with everyone. Frequently, I was on Twitter, and it was great. I ended up writing editor-in-chief for 18 issues, and wrote 3 books in a year and a half.
Wow.
So it was while raising 3 children. So it was exhausting, to say the least. But again, out of necessity, because I needed to support my family. We needed extra income. My husband at the time was working full time and then going to school in the evening, so he couldn't get a second job. So it kind of fell to me, and like I said, it was a matter of trying to find a way. And I think where there's a will, there's a way. If you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to make it work.
That's really the biggest driver where you started your company. Would you also say is the biggest driver to make sure that the company were growing, scaling, being successful?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, every business I run is my income. So there's no better incentive to make it work than to make sure that your audience continues to grow, because as your audience grows, your revenue increases. And I'm just like everyone else. I have bills to pay, and children to feed. So yeah, I think that's a huge driver is,
But
yeah.
I think a lot of people have that drive, but they find it really difficult to get that level of success. What made it for you so successful? Where do you think you have succeeded in what part of the business?
I think the fact that a couple things, mindset. I think it all boils down to mindset, really, because
Mm,
one, I never give up. Two, I always find a way. I'm constantly learning. It amazes me how many resources there are out there. Just when you think, oh, wow, I have a great new idea, you go online and you realize somebody already has that, So,
yeah,
it's just amazing to me what resources we have out there. Like I use so many great software programs to help really streamline my business. I use ConvertKit for email campaigns, and I use ClickUp, which helps organize your tasks for the day.
yeah. We love ClickUp too.
Yeah,
It's a great tool.
there's so many great. Let's see, what are some of the other softwares we use daily? Hello
You,
Bonsai or
yeah,
Dubsado is fantastic for your invoicing, and it keeps everything in order. So at the end of the year, I just print it all out and hand it to my accountant. So there are some things I'm great at, and there are other things I'm not. And I think being okay with hiring people that you need to handle
mm,
the things that you're not great at or that you just don't love, right? Like I don't like accounting. I don't want to deal with the headache of all the taxes and the laws and what's changed. So just pay someone to do that, like hire a bookkeeper, be open to delegating tasks that you just don't enjoy.
that's a big one, and that's a big one where a lot of business owners go wrong, where they fear of letting go or fear of delegating because they feel like, well, I'm the only one that really can do this, right? I'm the best. Why would I give it to somebody else? And I don't even know if they will do the same job. But I think there's a big mindset block
Yes,
where if they do not get over that, just they're gonna keep getting stuck, right? It's
right,
not gonna
absolutely.
grow because if you're the only one, well, it starts and it stops with you.
Yeah, I agree. And the I think the best way to overcome that roadblock for people with that mindset of only I can do it is okay, then create the SOPs, create the statements of work,
Mm,
the SOWs, create the process, and then train your staff. Train them to be like you, right? Like
yeah,
that's the best way to make sure they do it like you is to give them very, very explicit instructions, step-by-step processes, train them well, have them shadow you. So when they are working for you and handling tasks without you by their side, you're confident that they're going to do a job just as good as you would have, and they would have done it the same way you would have.
is that also part of your success where you were able to really let go and delegate to other people?
Yeah, I think so. I'm a writer, and I love putting business processes into place. And I think that helped all the businesses that I've created, because I put them in place step by step. This is how you do it. This is where you go. I type everything out with images. So there's no question what needs to be done or how it needs to be done. I've worked for several Fortune 500 companies and helped them implement proposal programs and RFP processes, where, for those of you that don't know what that is, a business needs to write a proposal and they send it out to many businesses, and then the company decides which proposal they're going to go with, right? Everybody bids for the work. So whether it's landscaping or a construction job or what software you're going to use for your company, proposals need to be written. So that's another huge thing of what I do now at the Modern Marketing Mama. And I think learning to write all of those processes for all those major corporations and for my own businesses has really helped me set myself up for success.
Would you say, so if people would think and would listen to this, they might think, okay, I just need to create SOPs and then it will be fine. I guess that's not the only thing that you need really to make sure that it will work.
No, not at all. You need to make sure. I shadow and train people for a good 2 months before I let them work independently. Fully independently. So I think it's important, and companies hire me to do the same thing, is that they'll hire me to come in and put the process in place and then coach their staff. And I slowly step back and let them work on those steps alone. And then we review it and see, okay, what needs more instruction and what needs more help, and does this work for you? And and it's really a delicate balance of finding what, just because one way may work very well for me, it may not work well for someone else. So to find a way that it works well for them, but the job still gets done properly is really the key.
Yeah, because I also believe that it's not just a matter of giving the SOP to somebody and just magically everything will flow. It's also the people themselves that get the task to do the SOP or whatever the process, that they they need to give you feedback about, is this really working or not? This is how I do it. How does it relate to what you have been doing?
Right.
And once they can own the process, that's where they can take it as their own, and then you can really let go, because they know the process and they're also capable of doing them by themselves because they design the process,
Right,
And
absolutely.
also, yeah.
You want them to be part of that process.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big part of scaling, for sure. You mentioned that for you, scaling is a non-stop game, right?
Right.
So you keep scaling, right?
Always.
So how does that look like in terms of your current business? Like, what would you say is like ongoing scaling effort?
Right now I'm training 2 people, different tasks that I do, and once I train them and they're independent and they're successful, then I'll have them help me train more people, and it just continues and continues. So, because I think, especially with the business I have now, there are so many skills and so many tasks that need to be done, that what I love doing is I love hiring women. I love hiring moms and giving them a chance to work from home so they can stay home with their kids, because I think there are so many women that are just missing from the workforce, that some women are great being a stay-at-home mom and they're perfectly happy with that. And others need the outlet. They want a balance. They want to stay home with the kids. They want to work. And I think if that's the kind of mom you are, then that's great. I think we should celebrate whatever kind of mom you are. And but for those that want to find work, I find that it's extremely difficult, that moms can't leave the house to go to work because of the cost of childcare. At the end of the day, at the end of the week, when they get their check, they basically hand it over to the child caregiver and they have nothing left for themselves. So why work? Why leave your child to be raised by someone else when you could just stay home? So I think it's very important. And I think COVID, if anything came out of COVID, I think the proof that we can work from home and get things done is really finally getting across to all, every major business. And I hope that they allow more women to continue to work from home, because I think women have a lot to contribute.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. A lot of women that are staying at home, they perfectly can create their own agencies, right? They can create a marketing side of things, even if it's just like social media management. Why not?
Right,
Because it can be done from anywhere. So
right,
being a modern marketing mama is definitely possible for a lot of women out there.
exactly.
And that's again your hook into the necessity of creating a company, a service for people that can use it, can really use that.
Right. Well, this company I started because my daughter, one of my daughters, got very ill,
Mm,
and I had to take her out of state. We couldn't get her the medical care she needed here in state because of the rare disorder she has. So I had to. The hospital told me here, they're like, we can't help her anymore. We don't have, the tools we need and the staff we need here. And so they told me I had to move and basically live in Boston, Massachusetts, for a couple months to get her the help she would need. And we would have to get up every morning at like 6 a.m. and drive to the hospital and be there all day long, and then, go back to the hotel. And we basically lived out of a hotel for 2 months. And I said, how am I going to do this right now when I was working as an employee for a major construction company and doing marketing and proposal writing. And I thought, why don't I just work for myself? I have before. So I created the Modern Marketing Mama.
another company, Leslie.
Another
You're really a
company.
serial entrepreneur.
Yeah. So this
But
is the third one. And
yeah,
I'm loving it.
so with all the experience that you have right now, and thinking back on the companies that you have started, I'm just contemplating like, were you not able to continue some of these companies um, back then because you didn't have the knowledge or the experience which you have now to do that, or was it like a really a decision that you made yourself that okay, here is where it ends.
For the tutoring, it was just a point in my life where I and my husband and I wanted, it was just, it's what we wanted, where I wasn't going to work, and um, it happened to be at a time of recession as well. So I could have pushed through and opened centers, but I just decided it was a good point to end. I was happy with where I ended with the business. And with the magazine, it was difficult for me to leave. I didn't want to leave. But I had a part, I was co-owner, and it was just a matter of the owner and I having different views of
Mm,
which direction the magazine should go in. So again, at that time, I was going through a divorce, and it was a matter of I couldn't juggle everything. So I decided
mm,
to let the magazine go, which was very hard for me because I just loved the community of people, and I loved helping people in the autism community around the world. So that was difficult. But so yeah, it wasn't a lack of knowledge. It was just a matter of what was best for me in my personal life at that time.
mm. So really priorities that shifted in your
Right.
life.
And
Yeah.
as a mother, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
You have a lot to juggle. I have 3 children, all with special needs. So they come
Yeah.
first, you know.
But respect that you can build 3 companies out of that, I think a lot of women, a lot of people can look up to that, what you have created and still are creating. What would be a good tip, a good trick, or a good magic piece of advice that you have for people that want to start something like you have started? They are at home, maybe they are contemplating, what should I do? Should I start? Should I not start? It's so difficult. There's so many people out there doing that. Having your experience creating 3 companies that have reached this level, what would be your magic advice?
I would say, be authentic and be yourself. There are many skills that everyone has that makes every skill makes us unique. So share all of those. People can find me anywhere on Facebook or online because I just post everything. I started a whole group to help my daughter get healthy again. We had to go gluten-free and dairy-free. And I started this whole feed and hashtag of gluten-free and not starving one day because I got into a disagreement about whether or not food can actually impact your health with a doctor. And she stood there and tried to tell me that food doesn't matter. And I said, if food doesn't matter, why are we pushing eat more salads and don't eat, I said, have you ever seen a documentary on what happened when that guy ate nothing but McDonald's for a month?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember the name, but yeah, I've seen that one, and that is crazy.
And I was like, you can't tell me food does not matter. And I'm not saying it's the only thing that matters, but I'm saying I really think that medicine should pay closer attention to the diet interaction and not just push pills. So that turned into starting another side company. I'm working with BioRains, who helps. Yeah, so they create, I think it's the best CBD because they have all of these wellness products that are just amazing to me. It's the latest scientific research out there. This CBD is the only one that is not oil-based that I've found, and it absorbs because oil and water don't mix. This one goes straight into your bloodstream, so it helps. And I've seen it help so many people with inflammation. And it's helped my mother, it's helped my daughter, it's helped myself. So I was like, I gotta get in on this, So now
you have to share it with us. You have to share that link with us.
Yeah, so it's shophealthy.biorains.com. And there's so many great things about it because they have, for instance, they have this powder that you can dump into water and it tastes like Kool-Aid, but it's completely healthy, sugar-free. They actually sweeten it with beet juice. And so it looks like pink lemonade, and my kids love it. And during the summer here, I live in Connecticut, in the US, it gets very hot. And with special needs children, they often forget to drink. One of the great things about all of my children is that we can all hyper-focus. But the problem with the hyper-focusing is that you tend to forget to stop and eat. So you get really dehydrated. But this hydrate powder is just amazing. You put a little bit in their water bottle and shake it up, and they're good to go, and they're full of all the nutrients they need. Even they have vitamins that are just they don't even compare to any of the others, and I don't have to worry. There's ones without dye, which is what I prefer. And it's very difficult for my kids. They have horrible sensory issues. So feeding and getting them to eat properly is a nightmare. But then even getting them to eat a vitamin is a nightmare. So what's great about BioRains is they have these drops that are basically tasteless. So I put the vitamin drops in their drink and they don't even know that they're drinking their vitamins. So it's fantastic. So now I know my kids are getting the proper nutrition they need, and it's just amazing. So I absolutely love BioRains for creating
really
all
about
stuff.
it's really about finding the right kind of opportunities and being open-minded to look for those.
Absolutely. So if you find a hobby, you post, right? So I found this, right? It wasn't even a hobby. It was just, this was my new way of life. I posted gluten-free and not starving, and I started posting all of the meals and the food that we do eat on a daily basis because the doctor had told me she was worried that I would starve my child if we went gluten-free. And I was
God.
No. There's gluten-free pizza, there's gluten-free everything now. And I cook everything from scratch. So I was filming myself live every night after work, coming home as a busy mom and still making dinner and still making it gluten-free and dairy-free and delicious. And having my 3 picky eater kids eat dinner, a healthy dinner, and not starving, And so it was, and that turned into meeting other people in the gluten-free world, which turned into, learning about CBD. I hadn't even known what CBD was. I thought it was just pot, and I didn't know that it was actually, I had no idea. I had no idea that CBD is not. It's actually for fun. And so you can even get it without the THC. So there's none of that. But yeah, so I had no idea what any of that was. And but yeah, so it really just, if you're just open and you post, you're honest and you're authentic with what's actually going on in your life, I think you meet the people that you need to, and then you find a way, how can I monetize this? How can I turn this into helping other people become this way, right? I could easily write a book about going gluten-free. I could easily write a book about my daughter and her journey and how she did not want to go gluten-free. She was, and it's not easy. I mean, sometimes we crave Bertucci's rolls. There's a restaurant, Bertucci's here. I don't know if you have it where you are, Stefan, and their rolls are to die for. But the majority of things, though, we have found a way to make gluten-free, and they're still delicious. So, and it's just not worth being sick over. Some people, like my daughter and I, can't have gluten, or else it makes us extremely sick. So, but yeah, so just being open to every opportunity, I think, is so, so important.
That's a good one. That's true. And this is also something I talk about often, is being authentic is so important, because everybody is online. Everybody is showing their offer, their service, their business. What makes you different, what makes you unique, is the only thing that makes you different sometimes is who you are. It's who you are. Who are you as a person? What do you like? What is your mindset? All of these things, and that is super important for me as well. So yeah,
Right.
absolutely, I believe that. So great stuff, Leslie. Thank you very much for your explanation there. So where can people find you online?
So people can find me at modernmarketingmama.com. They can find right there. Yeah.
Right there.
They can also find me on Facebook at the modernmarketingmama.com. The Modern Marketing Mama. They can also find me on Instagram as the Modern Marketing Mama, and you can find me on Twitter at Leslie Burby SPED, and yeah, and I'm on LinkedIn. So I'm
You're
everywhere.
everywhere.
I'm very easy to find as long as you spell my name correctly.
Yeah.
So
And otherwise, you just go to modernmarketingmama.com and it will find you as well.
yes, and you can also do a web search. There's like 30 pages of me, so you'll find me. Either my
Awesome.
books or my YouTube
Yeah.
channels or anything. So yeah,
Awesome.
happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leslie, for your time, for your story. It was awesome to hear that. And I wish you all the best. And yeah, let's catch up later and see how far along you will go with this company and how far you will keep scaling it. And we'll see your future as well. Okay. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And see you next time for another Type In. See ya. Bye bye.